Good evening, Bible study. I just wanted to touch base on our reading from Genesis 41 to 50, where Joseph was imprisoned by his brothers. Technically, sold him to the Ishmaelites, and the Ishmaelites sold him to the Egyptians, where Potiphar ended up taking him as a slave, but not only a slave, but a high estate slave. Everything that Joseph touched, it prospered, knowing that God was with him. Everything that Joseph went through with his brothers, having a dream where his the 10 chiefs is gonna be and he in the middle and everybody fall down. Also, everybody's the second dream was all the stars around him, including his parents, was lesser as his own was above. You know, the brothers were jealous and they sold him, and they were gonna kill him and everything, but they didn't. But ended up selling them, and then went to Egypt. Potiphar ended up having him to be in high estate, and his wife noticed that everything that he touched prospered. His wife liked Joseph, wanted to sleep with him, constantly kept on, hey, come sleep with me. Joseph's like, no man, I can't do this to my Lord. He gave me everything but you. You know, and that's not me. That's not how I was raised. And Joseph was raised by the Spirit of God. You know, he was very humble, even though he was humble in heart and he was the youngest. God was always there for Joseph. So he was thrown into prison because Potiphar's wife screamed, yelled rape, which he didn't. So he ran away, left the tunic. He went to prison, and he was in prison. He became a high porter or a high worker. Everything that Joseph touched, he prospered, even in prison. So Joseph was there, and he saw two of the Pharaoh's workers. The two of Pharaoh's workers, one was a cupbearer and the other one was a baker. They both have dreams, and they both told they were both crying and wondering what their dream was about. And Joseph walked up to them and let them know, it's like, interpretation only belongs to God. Interpretation only belongs to Adonai, Yahweh. So Elohim, Yod He Vav He. So let me interpret. So the cupbearer, had grapes, handing it to Pharaoh. So did the cupbearer. The baker. He had bread. He had it in the basket on his head, and the birds was eating out of it. So lo and behold, he told him everything. The cupbearer got his job back after 3 days, and he was giving fresh pressed grapes back to Pharaoh during his birthday. As the baker ended up in 3 days. Pharaoh was upset at the baker, ends up hanging the baker, and the birds was eating out of his head. Signification of what came true into their dreams that Joseph interpreted. Time passed and everything. Pharaoh had an upset dream, and he called all the magistrates, everybody around the town, any scholars. Nobody could interpret his dream. But then the cupbearer remembered Joseph. Oh, there was this Hebrew guy. He was in prison and he interpreted both of our dreams, and everything that he stated came true. All right, so let's go get him. So he ended up getting Joseph, and Joseph, Pharaoh told Joseph his dream after he cut all his hair, made him look young again. He told him, it's like, there was 7 healthy cows on one side and 7 unhealthy cows on the other side, and the 7 unhealthy cows ate the 7 healthy cows, as well as the corns, the 7 healthy grain of corns and 7 unhealthy grain of corns that devoured each other. And he said both dreams are the same. Interpretation only belongs to God, Joseph told the Pharaoh. So let me see about what I could do. So of course Joseph got the revelation from Yahweh, revelation from Elohim, Adonai. Told him about his dream. 7 healthy cows is going to be, they're both of the same dream. 7 years of abundance of food and 7 years of famine. So you need to gather all the grains and everything throughout the whole world. And Pharaoh says, wow, who can I find someone that's is able to do such thing? Joseph became that person to be in that estate to save 7 years and all of that, and they did all of that. So he gathered all the grains and everything. Excuse, my dog is barking. He gained all of that, and everything that Joseph interpreted came true. It wasn't Joseph that interpreted, it was the Lord. Mind this, Joseph was the youngest, and through Joseph, he's gonna save the lineage of Israel, which was Jacob, the tribe of Judah, the tribe of Benjamin, the tribe of Simeon, and all of that. So then, lo and behold, Joseph's dream as a little kid came true. He got everything in abundance. The Pharaoh said, who can I choose to save us? Pharaoh says, you know what? Let me give you everything. But even this ring, so only thing that's higher than you is my seat. But you're the second in command in Pharaoh's, in Egypt, and everything. So Joseph, a Hebrew person with the Ishmaelites, the Egyptian, he ended up, everybody started serving the younger. The oldest will serve the younger. There's just like the curse that happened when Ham saw the nakedness of Noah. The Canaanites will serve, the oldest will serve the younger. So if you could see, Joseph was the youngest. He ended up, everybody started serving him, including the Egyptians, because of how wise and wisdom God provided for him. But through him, what people saw as bad, God meant it for good. Through him, he will save the whole lineage of Jacob. So his whole brothers came. Jacob told, hey, some of you guys need to go to Egypt, because I heard they have so much stuff. We are in famine. We have nothing, no water, no nothing, all of that. Let's give him what we have. We have pistachios, we have almonds. Let's give him this so we can trade it for corn, for bread. So they ended up taking it and everything to Egypt. But Benjamin ended up staying, was the younger brother of Joseph. Ended up staying, and Simeon and everybody went to Egypt. Lo and behold, they went up to Joseph, but Joseph was, remember, Egypt put a lot of makeup, and they looked different, and they were accustomed to different stuff. So Joseph looked totally different. Joseph had a different name, but Joseph was the most highest. He was like a vice president to the president, like what we do now. So he was like below Pharaoh, but using his signet ring. So then the same thing, everything that happened, every dream that he had, his brothers came and bowed down to Joseph. That was the first thing about the sheep that he told them. Joseph was kind of cunning. Joseph ended up like, you know what? Oh, you guys are coming here as spies. You guys are all spies. You guys are here to watch the land or take everything we have. They're like, no, we're not. We're here to buy abundance. We have our father is at home, and the youngest is over there with him. And the youngest, his older brother, he's no longer with us. He died. Knowing that he didn't die, he was sold by the Egyptian. They were talking about Joseph's life when he was thrown into the pit. They sold him to the Ishmaelites and everything, and they felt guilty. They felt remorse of what they have done. So really quick, all of this happened and everything. So they, you know what, Joseph, let come into my house, make bread. And he told all the kingmen, all the soldiers, Pharaoh's soldiers, because they were serving Joseph, even though Joseph was the youngest one. And all of these people are the oldest one of the whole lineage of Abraham. So they started serving the younger. So they told him, hey, make all this food, make a party, and they separated each other. The Egyptian people couldn't even eat with the Hebrew people because they have a different customs, accustomed to what they do. So as Joseph was watching the brothers and everything, they said, hey, you know what? Hey, they told him in the Egyptian dialect, hey, why don't you put everything back into their sack, including all the money and gold, and let them go back to them, telling the Egyptians about, secretly telling him about to take care of his father, but not letting them know. But he ended up imprisoning one, which was, I believe, was Simeon. Threw him into prison. No, not Simeon. Sorry, I think it was Reuben. Threw Reuben into prison. Reuben, no, it was Simeon. Simeon was into prison. Reuben left and everything. They took all their stuff and they got all the corns and grains and they took it back to the father. In mid-travel, during their like probably 3-day travel back to Jacob, their father, they opened up their sack and they found out all the gold. They're like, oh no, what we have done? Someone we didn't steal this. Who put this in this? And they were like nervous and everything. But Joseph was cunning about the whole situation of throwing it in there. So he ended up doing that, and Simeon was in prison. Hey, if you bring your youngest brother, all of this and everything, and they ended up doing that. Jacob was like, don't bring him. He's my youngest son. Israel, don't bring him. I will surely die because I have no son. So they went back to Jacob, Israel, and told him about the whole thing, and everything happened, and Pharaoh wants your youngest son. No, I'm gonna die. But they had to do it, ended up bringing him in. Simeon said, Reuben said, you know what, I'll give you my 2 kids. If anything happens, you can use them as slaves or put them upon him. So he put his son on a choking block. Same thing like sacrificing his kids. If anything happens to them, you can do whatever to my kids. So then I'm taking Benjamin, brought him back and everything, and Joseph saw his brother, gave him the biggest hug, and after all of this, what people saw as bad, God meant it for good. And the whole thing with Joseph, Joseph started to cry when his brothers came back and gave him a feast. You guys, did a big feast. He did a whole lie saying that, you guys are thieves and all of that, and made them drink and have fun and separate each other. But Joseph couldn't take it anymore. He started to cry and he ran out of the room because he can speak Hebrew and also he can speak Egyptian because God gave him that ability of tongues. The youngest will serve the oldest, or the oldest will serve the youngest. Joseph was the youngest throughout the whole tribe of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob at that time. The next thing you know, he threw everybody a party. They got drunk, threw back all the grains back into their sack as well as the gold. And Joseph cunningly puts his own silverware, his own drinking cup. Before that, used to idolize things that they drink was idolized back in Egypt. So ended up putting his trough into the sack of Benjamin, and they left. And Joseph cunningly says, as they're leaving, a few hours later, was told by Joseph, hey, someone stole my trough. Get whoever has it, get it, and bring them into prison. So they went and they halfway met their brothers out in the wilderness before he went to Jacob, and they're like, oh, we're here, we didn't steal nothing. When they opened up their sack, everybody felt remorse. Oh gosh, why is this still in here? It wasn't me. Everybody had everything in there. But they found the trough, his drinking, his idolized thing that he accustomed to in Egypt, was in Benjamin's sack. So they took Benjamin into prison. And then lo and behold, they said, if you got to bring your father here, which is Jacob, bring Jacob here, to talk and let him know. So he can let him know whatever happened. Everybody's going to bow down to him and all of that. But it wasn't for him. God meant it for good. The reason God meant it for good, he finally told his brothers that I am your brother. It is me. It is Joseph. They're like, oh gosh, you're alive. So I ended up telling Israel, Jacob, and he gathered everybody and brought them to Egypt, and they got a little small place called Goshen. So really quick, fast story. They're the cross. The oldest will serve the youngest. Jesus is the youngest out of all of the Hebrew people from the tribe of Judah, everything like that. They came from the loins of Jacob. So the Pharisees was upset at Jesus, so they ended up crucifying him and putting him upon the cross. They crucified him. A cross. But through his salvation we will be saved. Really quick, in Genesis, Jacob was about to pass away, and Joseph had his kids, Ephraim and Manasseh. The oldest one on Jacob is right side where he's gonna bless, and the youngest one on the left side of Jacob. Walk up to him. Here's my youngest one. The youngest one is on the right side over here. So he's gonna bless him. The young is supposed to bless him here this way, and bless the oldest one like this. Ephraim and Manasseh. But Jacob was already about. Jacob is blind. His name was Israel. Israel was blind, and he ended up making no. This is how it's supposed to go. So Jacob blessed the youngest one like this. Put his right hand, the dominant hand, to bless the youngest one, and place the least dominant one to the oldest one like this, like a cross. And instead of blessing them and gave them all the blessing and told him, and the youngest one got blessed, and the oldest one will serve the youngest one. Joseph was like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be. Here, let me switch your hands. He goes, no, I did what I did. I did this and like this. A cross signification that through the cross, the tribe of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the tribe of Israel, the tribe of Benjamin and Judah, will be saved through the cross, which was Jesus. Fast forward, Jesus upon the cross, through salvation. So that's what I wanted to touch base on our Bible study, is the cross. So hope that touched base with you guys. You guys listen. Have a blessed and wonderful day. See ya.
The Bible can't just be read. You need to ingest it. You can't just read it. You have to eat it.